loud? I feel like I'm loud. How's everyone doing? Now, see, if this was a youth service, I wouldn't accept that. I would not accept that. I would call that weak. And I would sit here and make it awkward until you gave me an acceptable response. But I'm not. I'm super excited to be here. I'm super excited. Pastor Ben did say it's been a long time since I've preached. In fact, I think there's probably a lot of us here who have never heard me preach, and so I pray that I do you justice. I gotta get comfortable. Hang on. I just want to start by thanking everyone for coming here. It is a holiday weekend, and you could be anywhere. But at Heartland, we have always said that you keep showing up, and it will be worth it. And my prayer is that today is no exception to that rule. It would hold true with this message, and I'm confident in that. I'm confident in this message. We are continuing our series on the vision of God, which is an in-depth look at the book of Romans. And when Pastor Ben told me he was tackling Romans this year, I was super excited, and then I got really, really excited when he asked me to actually take one of the weeks. But Romans is just it's the book of the Bible that just packs the punch of to me, the entire rest of the book. If there's one book in the Bible that I'd have to read for the rest of my life, or if I could have only read one book in the Bible, probably would have been Romans. I'm not saying the Bible, the rest of the Bible is great, but I love the book of Romans. You start reading it, and Paul is he's laying it out for everyone, pertaining to our complete lack of ability to measure up by ourselves, and the extent of the grace that God goes to bring us into that relationship. It's all right here in the book, and there's a lot of truth that's hard to hear in Romans, but it's good truth, and I love the book of Romans, and I can't think of a better name for the series, because this really is the vision of God. That as people would not only break themselves free from sin, but that they would cease trying to do that by means of a law that was never intended for that purpose, and they would start turning to the one who actually has the power to make those changes. So today we continue in the series, and we find ourselves, if you've been keeping track, we're finding ourselves staring down the barrel of Romans chapter 7. And the thing about Romans chapter 7 is that of all the purposes it serves, one of them, one of the biggest ones, is it's a stage setting, it's a table setting for Romans chapter 8, which Romans chapter 8 is like an all-you-can-eat buffet. I mean, Romans chapter 8 is, in my opinion, the holy grail of Romans. And personally, I would go as far to say as the whole Bible. It's full of, there's so much good in Romans chapter 8. If you've never heard Romans chapter 8, you got to come listen to Pastor Ben teach on it, because you're going to be blown away. It's going to be great. But there's so much good in it, no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus, more than conquerors. God works all things for the good of those who love him and are called according to his purpose. Romans 8 goes down like ice cream. It's beautiful. It goes down like ice cream. It's good to hear. It goes down easy. There's some vegetables in Romans 7. We're not in Romans 8, we're in Romans 7, and there's some veggies in Romans 7. But it's good. I don't want to scare anyone. It's good veggies. It's like the corn you mix in your mashed potatoes, like that kind of veggies. So we're not I'm not pulling teeth. It's going to be good, but it's going to be deep. And so this got changed around since the last time I preached, and I'm getting used to it. Last 2 weeks, Pastor Ben has taught under the title of Winning the War Within. And I asked him to keep that title for the second week, because I love that title, because it tees off really well. And I want to spin off that tile and talk about one of the key battles at winning the war within. And the key battle of winning the war within is breaking the chains of our choices. That is the title of my message, breaking the chains of our choices. This life is full of choices. This life is full of decisions that we have to make every single day. And this message, this particular message, is kind of a meshing of two parts of my life. I knew I was coming up here to teach on Romans 7, and I just got done teaching the students on a whole 6-week series on decisions. So any student who made it to week 3, particularly of that series, sorry, but you're going to hear a lot of things for a second time. But yeah, so that's kind of life is full of choices. We make decisions every single day, and if I hope I'm in good company, but I often wonder for days and weeks on end if I've made the right choices. I've made choices in my past years ago that I still wonder if I had chosen the right thing. Obviously, getting married and the person I married isn't one of them. I will never regret that choice. And having my kids, those are choices I will never second guess. I won't waste 1 minute second guessing myself for those choices, but there are choices that I'm like, I don't know if that was the thing to do. I still don't know. And so if I'm in good company, if there's people here who do that, I pray that, this message brings clarity, this message helps in some way. But let's dive in. Romans chapter 7, verse 1. It says, "Do you not know, brothers and sisters, for I am speaking to those who know the law, that the law has authority over someone only as long as that person lives." Stop. I stopped at the first verse. I just want to stop real quick. I want to ask, because Paul states he's speaking to those who know the law, and I want to ask real quick, is that true for us today? Or is Paul speaking to people who know the law? Do we all know the law? Are we all familiar with the law that he is speaking of? It's talked about a lot in Romans. It's talked a lot about in Romans 7. So if we don't know what he's talking about, we're not going to be on very good footing. I'm not taking everyone to Sunday school, promise, but I do want to go flip to the book of Exodus, chapter 20. This is the law that he is referring to, the 10 Commandments. He said, "And God spoke these words, I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of Egypt, out of the land of slavery. You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below. You shall not bow down to them or worship them, for I, the Lord your God, am a jealous God, punishing the children for the sin of the parents to the 3rd and 4th generation of those who hate me, but showing love to 1,000 generations of those who love me and keep my commandments. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord your God, for the Lord will not hold anyone guiltless who misuses his name. Remember the Sabbath day by keeping it holy. 6 days you shall labor and do all your work, but the 7th day is a Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work, neither you nor your son or your daughter, nor your male or female servant, nor your animals, nor any foreigner residing in your towns. For in 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea, and all that is within them, but he rested on the 7th day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and made it holy. Honor your father and mother, so that you may live long in the land the Lord your God is giving you. You shall not murder. You shall not commit adultery. You shall not steal. You shall not give false testimony against your neighbor. And you shall not covet your neighbor's house. You shall not covet your neighbor's wife, or his male or female servant, or his ox or donkey, or anything that belongs to your neighbor. These are the 10 Commandments. We all heard them at some point. Maybe not. That's why we just did that. But what I want to point out is a couple of things, and they took me quite a long time to really connect the dots on. First off, in verse 5, when God says he is a jealous God, it's easy to think we're walking into a contradiction here because, like, the last commandment deals with coveting, and isn't jealousy and coveting the same thing? And a lot of people who think that don't really understand the word jealousy. In my experience, they think it means wanting what others have, which is partially correct. But the commandment forbids covetousness, which is a lot. It's different. It's slightly different. Covetousness actually has more to do with a word called envy than it does jealousy. Covetousness or envy is to want or desire something that is rightfully not yours. Jealousy is to want or desire something that is rightfully yours. And to lay that out, if some guy comes up and just thinks it's okay to just start flirting with my wife, like in front of me or not in front of me, and I find out about it, I'm going to get jealous, and I'm probably going to do some unchristian things or say something like it's not going to go over well with me. It's just not. That is because that's my wife. Like, that's my wife. I'm the only one who can flirt with her, but if I were to get jealous for someone else flirting with their own wife, well, that's not right. That's coveting my neighbor's wife. That's the difference there. So when God is saying he is a jealous God, he is speaking specifically to the idea that his people who are his people, giving their worship, their attention, their admiration and adoration to things that don't rightfully deserve it. And he says it right there. I am the Lord your God who brought you up out of slavery, out of Egypt. That golden calf, that golden cow you're worshiping didn't get you out of Egypt, didn't get you out of slavery. I did that. Do not worship things that don't deserve your worship. That's all he's asking. So that's that first thing. The other thing is in verse 8, the Sabbath. You know what's really, really interesting about the Sabbath commandment? It's the only commandment that people brag about breaking. It's the only commandment that people brag about breaking. Think about it. I'm not up here saying, yeah, I told way many more lies this year than I have last year. People don't go around saying, yeah, I cheated on my wife 27 times, new record. When it comes to murder, your boy's killing it. Like that's not what people say. That's not what most of the time when you're breaking a commandment, you're trying to hide it, but not this one. This world is fraught with people who can't help but brag about how long they can go without a break, how long they can go, without a full night's sleep. I haven't gone on vacation in 15 years, Like, that's a weird flex. That's a weird flex. Why? Because we need a break, and there are literal people who brag about how long they can go without one of their most basic needs. And I understand it to a point, because when I first started preaching sermons, I had to actually put notes in my messages like breathe, like in big bold letters, actual stop, breathe, because I had a thing about not breathing. And you would think I wouldn't forget how to breathe because it's the most basic thing. But when the pressure's on, when stresses are high, when all you want to do is go throw up in the bathroom right now, you forget your most basic needs. And so that's why the Lord words it like that. Remember the Sabbath day. Remember it. Remember you need a break. Remember it. And stop bragging about breaking that commandment, because it doesn't mean what you think it means. Back to Romans 7. I just wanted to lay that out. That's what Paul is talking about when he says the law So he says in Romans 7, he says, do you not know, brothers and sisters, for I am speaking to those who know the law, which now is us. You're welcome. That the law has authority over someone only as long as that person lives. For example, by law, a married woman is bound to her husband as long as he is alive, but if her husband dies, she is released from the law that binds her to him. So then if she has sexual relations with another man while her husband is still alive, she is called an adulteress. But if her husband dies, she is released from that law and is not an adulteress if she marries another man. So, my brothers and sisters, you also died to the law through the body of Christ, that you might belong to another, to him who is raised from the dead, in order that we might bear fruit from God. For when we were in the realm of the flesh, the sinful passions aroused by the law were at work in us, but so that we bore fruit for death. But now, by dying to what once bound us, we have been released from the law so that we serve in the new way of the Spirit and not in the old way of written code. So the opening text, if you read this in a Bible, like a hard copy of the Bible, you probably had a bold header at the start of Romans chapter 7 that said something along the lines of released from the law and bound to Christ. One would go as far to say is chained. I'm working the title in, don't worry. One would go as far as to say chained. Just like a wife is bound to her husband, we were once bound to the law, which we would say chained. Released from the law, bound to Christ. This makes way for my first point. Everyone is bound to something. Everyone is bound to something. We long to live. We as a people long to live lives that are free, like free as a bird. We don't have a master. We don't answer to nobody. Like, we got lots of strong, independent women in here. I don't need no man. We want that. We want to be. We control our own destiny. But at the end of the day, everyone serves something, someone, some idea, some principle. Nobody is excluded from this. Everyone is bound to something. My next point is everyone has a master, and we need to choose it before it chooses us. The Bible very much urges us to make this choice in Joshua 24:14, where he says, now fear the Lord and serve him with all faithfulness. Throw away the gods your ancestors worshiped beyond the Euphrates River and in Egypt, and serve the Lord. But if serving the Lord seems undesirable to you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors or the gods of the Amorites, in whose land you are living. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. Somebody's got this on their wall somewhere in their house. Listen, he said, but if serving the Lord seems undesirable for you, then choose for yourselves this day whom you will serve. Whether the Lord, the gods your ancestors served, the gods of the land you're residing in right now. Notice what's not there. Nothing. Serving nothing is not an option that Joshua offered, because he knows that at the end of the day, everyone serves something. You're going to serve something. What's the beauty of it is we get that choice. We get to choose our master before our master chooses us. We die to the law. This is what Paul is saying in Romans 7. We die to the law and sin, and we're released from it so that we may be bound to Christ, so that we may choose to serve Christ, which is the life-giving choice. Romans 7, verse 7. says, what shall we say then? Is the law sinful? Certainly not. Nevertheless, I would not have known what sin was had it not been for the law. For I would not have known that coveting really what coveting really was if the law had not said, you shall not covet. But sin, seizing the opportunity afforded by the commandment, produced in me every kind of coveting. For apart from the law, sin was dead. Once I was alive apart from the law, but when the law commandment came, sin sprang to life, and I died. I found that in every commandment that was intended to bring life actually brought death. For sin, seizing the opportunity afforded by the commandment, deceived me, and through the commandment put me to death. So then the law is holy, and the commandment is holy, righteous, and good. Did that which is good then become death to me? By no means. Nevertheless, in order that sin might be recognized as sin, it used what is good to bring about my death, so that through the commandment, sin might become utterly sinful. Anyone know what that means? Let me tell you a story about when I was a teenager. The youth love it when I tell stories about when I was one of them, because it usually involves me telling something I messed up, some mistake I made, something embarrassing about myself, and this is no exception. Kind of, it's like it's half in, half out of the bag there. I mean, when I was in high school, I was a grade ahead of my best friend, so I think I would have been a junior and he was a sophomore, or maybe one grade up. I was a senior, he was a junior. I don't remember, but I was a grade ahead of my best friend, and it's important to mention that in my friend group, I was the only one who consistently would do their homework and actually try on the tests and do anything more than just showing up and breathing in the classroom. Okay, I put some effort. I'm not a valedictorian by any means, but I put forth, I picked the bar up off the ground. And so, consequently, that had me in a position where I had the best grades of all my friends. I had the best grades, because, half the battle is just showing up. And school was I was if you just put a paper in, you'd be a lot better than you are now. And now I didn't say I had great grades. Like I said, I was not valedictorian. I didn't take the AP classes. I mean, I got to honors chemistry, and I'm just yeah, I'm done. And so, but I was the guy that everyone would ask for help because I had the best grades. And I said, well, maybe just try turning in an assignment once in a while. It works wonders. And so this happened with my best friend. He was in a sort of do or die situation with an English paper, an essay, and he basically had to get a good grade on it, or he was in trouble, because we were getting to that it was the last month of school, and everybody's just now starting to care about their grades, and so so the specific paper he had, I'd actually done before. I'd gotten a pretty good grade. I think I actually got an A on it. And so I was well, I can help you with this, but I did have a problem. This was English, and this was, the only way I knew how to help him was just to tell him what I did. And but this was English. English teachers were scanning for plagiarism like the plague. If you were caught saying something that somebody else had said in a paper, instantly failed, and the principal would get involved. I mean, it was a big deal. So I was well, we gotta get around that. So what I did is, I don't know, Friday night or something, brought him over to my house, sat him in front of my computer. I printed off the paper that I did. And so I'm just pacing the kitchen, reading off things for him to type in the computer, but I'm changing the words. Like, I'm changing the wording. I'm like, I am not about to get, wrapped up in some plagiarism scandal. I'm actually going to graduate high school, and I'm not, yeah. So we did that for hours. I mean, we went way into the night doing this. And when all was said and done, I was feeling good about this. I was like, this is the best grade you're ever going to get. Like, I was like really, really confident in this. And he turns that paper in. A week later, he gets it back, and he got a D. And I was like, what? I was mad. I was like, this is the exact same paper I wrote a year ago, and I got an A. How did you get a D on this? I literally told you what to write. Well, I look at the paper. Every red pen marking on there is a typo. Every misspelling, mispronunciation, mispunctuation, misspell. It was just like, I was like, what in the world? I was like, do you not know how to spell? He's like, well, right. I was about to say that. So I go back into the computer, right? And I'm not looking at what he's typing in the computer. I'm just telling him. Like, I'm giving him the tools here. Like, make some magic. And so I get in the computer. I look at this paper, and I swear to you, it looks like Strawberry Shortcake's heart monitor in here. Red squiggles everywhere on this paper. I'm like, you didn't think this was a problem? And he's like, oh, it was late. And he was like, all right, well, enjoy summer school. That's basically where I got. Here's the moral of my story. I was so focused on not letting him fail because of the content, I didn't think about all the other ways he could fail this. I really didn't. I've never met anyone who typoed themselves into a D, okay? Like, I've never known that. I didn't know that was possible, okay? That's what Paul is saying here. That's what Paul is saying. In verse 7, Paul explains he didn't even know what coveting was, let alone that it was sin, until along came this law that said, oh yeah, by the way, you can't do that. We get so fixated on keeping the big commandments. Well, I'm not killing people. I'm not cheating on my wife or my husband. I'm not stealing. We get so fixated on this that we lose track of the little commandments and those are the things that end up burying us. Those are the things that end up, really kind of stacking up on us, and we're like, and now we don't know what to do. And everyone gets so focused on not actually murdering someone until they figure out in James that to hate someone is the same thing. As far as God is concerned, we get so caught up in not physically committing the act of adultery that we're like, oh, but then Jesus said if you look at someone lustfully, you've done it. And then there's somewhere in this book that says if you break one commandment, you as good as broke the whole law. Really, we're buried. Really, we're buried. In fact, most of the time, when something gets labeled off limits, that's when we want to do it. That's when we want to do it. I was ironing my pants because my wife told me they were too wrinkly, and I listened. I listened to the wisdom in my life. And so I was ironing my pants. I had them all on this morning, and I had the iron sitting there, and I thought I got them good, so I put them on, and I went downstairs to ask my wife if they were good, because she's not going to iron them for me. She's just going to tell me I need to iron them, and then she'll tell me if I did it right. And so and so I left the iron there plugged in because I was like, I'm not going to wait for it to heat up if I have to come back and iron them. And I told my kids, I said, don't touch that. They didn't touch it, but the whole way down the stairs, I'm like, I just like nailed the coffin. Like that is the one thing they're going to want to do now. That is the one thing, like turn a stove on and say, don't touch that. What do they want to do? They want to touch it. We don't want things until we find out we can't have them. That's just how we are. And that's the way, this is the way, this is what the enemy capitalizes on to get us where he wants us. We don't want to make choices until we find out they're the ones that are going to hurt us. And those are the choices we shouldn't make. And our ability to choose, it's a gift from God. It's a gift that he gives us. It's in the form of something called free will. It's a freedom to choose. But that being said, I think most of the time our freedoms become the very things that imprison us. And some of us might not have known that, but you know who does know that is the enemy. The enemy knows that. The devil knows exactly what to say, what to do to get you on a path you don't want to go down. And sometimes, and listen, it's really, really easy to look at people and say, oh yeah, the devil's got them chained, the devil's got them chained. I'm glad I'm not chained like that. But listen, here's what the devil is not going to give us a fully crafted chain. He's not going to give us, he's not going to say, hey, I want you to wear this. Here is a devastating, life-bleeding addiction that is going to bankrupt you mentally, emotionally, financially, physically, spiritually. It's going to make your family hate you. Doesn't that sound great? He's not going to do that. No, what he does is he gives us choices, and each choice is a link in the chain. And with every choice we make, we craft the chain ourselves. To the point where the very freedom we enjoy so much becomes the thing that binds us. That's how big of a jerk the devil is. He uses our freedoms, our gifts from God, to bind us to the point where we look something like this, and oh, too many things in the pockets. Hang on. I'm going to put that there. To the point where we look something like this. Bear with me. And we wonder, and there's another one, don't worry. Don't worry, there's another one. I'll just finance that new car. I deserve something nice. I'll keep talking to that person even though my spouse, my significant other says I shouldn't. Because we're just friends. We'll keep it chill. We're just texting, right? We're just friends. It's going to be fine. I'll have a couple more drinks. I don't need to read my Bible today. I can 5 more minutes on Facebook, 5 more minutes on TikTok. I'll be fine. And every single choice by choice, link by link, the devil has us crafting the chains that we drag around with us our whole lives. Our whole lives. And we get to we get to a point where some of us, you might be looking at me right now, you might think I look a little ridiculous, but we get to the point where yeah, I'm not like that. I don't wear those chains. And I would propose to you that maybe it's not that you're not wearing the chains, but you're used to the chains. Some of us, we made these decisions long ago. We never dealt with them, never remedied them, never brought them to light, and we're dragging them around, and it's heavy. And we're burdened. This is what it looks like. And maybe some of us, are looking and listening right now and say, yeah, that checks out. Maybe you knew something was heavy. You just didn't really quite know how to word it, put it into perspective, and here it is. And some of us, we may think along the lines of Paul, in our last chunk of scripture here, in verse 14 when he says, "We know that the law is spiritual, but I am unspiritual, sold as a slave to sin. I do not understand what I do, for what I want to do, I do not do, but what I hate, I do. And if I do what I do not want to do, I agree that the law is good. As it is no longer I myself who do it, but it is sin living in me. For I know that good itself does not dwell in me. That is in my sinful nature, for I have the desire to do what is good, but I cannot carry it out. For I do not do the good I want to do, but the evil I don't want to do, this I keep on doing. Now if I do what I do not want to do, it is no longer I who do it, but it is sin living in me that does it. So I find this law at work. Although I want to do good, evil is right there with me. For in my inner being I delight in God's law. But I see another law at work in me, waging war against the law of my mind and making me a prisoner of the law of sin at work in me. What a wretched man I am. Who will rescue me from this body that is subject to death? Thanks be to God who delivers me through Jesus Christ our Lord." Some of us, feel like we're stuck in this vicious cycle. We want to do good. We want to do what is honorable for the Lord, but it just feels like we can't. And the things that we hate and the things we know are wrong, we keep doing it. And we let it get to the point where we just beg the question, what is wrong with me? Has anyone ever asked that question, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get it together? Why can't I lock in? Why can't I just not do the things that I know are wrong? Why can't I do the things that I know are good? I want to honor the Father. A practical vision of this is like the spirit of a dog living in the body of a cat. Okay, like the spirit, it wants to obey the master. All it wants is to do what the master wants and be a good boy and get pets on the belly. That's all it wants. But the vessel is pure, unadulterated evil. And tell me I'm wrong. And so this is what it is. And we ask, what is wrong with me? Why can't I get a grip on myself? Why can I not control myself? And I would say, what I would tell you is, there's nothing wrong with you. You're just in chains. You're still wearing the chains. And there's another, when Paul wrote the book of Romans, this vision would have been would have hit a lot closer to home. In ancient Rome, if you murdered somebody, one of the possible methods of execution would be for them to take the corpse of the person you murdered, strip it down, strip all the clothes off of it, strip all the clothes off of you, and chain that corpse to you. And so what that would do is two things. One, you would die a slow and horrifying death because you would contract every disease, every infection that corpse is cultivating in itself because it's a corpse, and you're full on skin to skin, and they would feed you, they would give you water and stuff to prolong the experience, because you're not just going to starve to death. You're going to actually, that'd be too easy. The other thing is give you the constant reminder of what you've done. And for some of us, I feel like we're to a point where it feels like we're chained. And those chains are just a constant reminder of choices we've made. Weeks, months, years, I don't know. But what I'm here for, as I land the plane here, Paul is saying, who will save me from this body that is subject to death? Contextually, that's likely along the lines people are thinking of that corpse chained to them. Paul is saying, sin is so vile, so heavy, and so draining my life away that it's like I'm just chained. And the chains are draining the life out of me. And some of us might be thinking, well, if I've spent, years cultivating, crafting these chains, if this is the result of years of decisions, then wouldn't it take years to break them? Maybe if you don't know the science behind a chain, but how strong is a chain? It's only as strong as its weakest link. So all it takes is one link, and they're gone. And what is a link? A link is a choice. And so what I offer you today is one choice. It's got to be the right choice. It's got to be the right link. It had to have been the right link, or the chains wouldn't have fallen. Has to be the right link. Has to be the right choice. And that is the choice I offer. Jesus. Jesus is that choice. Praise be to God who delivers me through Christ, through Jesus Christ our Lord. That is the choice I offer. And so what I want to do is I want to stand. Just if we could put on something pretty, some ambiance, if you will. I want to stand. And if you're here today, and you walked in and you have chains going on, we're here to break them. We're here to break them. That's the business we're in. That's the God we serve, one who breaks chains. There's power in the name of Jesus to break every chain, break every chain, break every chain. But what I want to forewarn you is there is a point of necessary transformation that has to happen first. And the point of necessary transformation is when the pain of staying the same becomes greater than the pain of changing. Breaking the chains is actually the easy part. Keeping them off is the harder part. And if you're not to the point of necessary transformation, if you're not to that point where staying the same hurts more than changing, we'll see you back next week to break the chains again. And I don't want to, I mean that with all the love I can muster in my soul. And we will be back here to break the chains again if that's what it takes. And the week after that, and the week after that, and the month after that, however long it takes, we serve a God who doesn't say, you mean again? You mean again? We got to do this again? No, he's not like that. He's a good and patient God. And I'd like to think you have good and patient pastors that will be here every step of the way, and we'll do it as many times as we need to before you reach that point of necessary transformation. But if you're there today, you're like, I'm ready to lose those chains for good, then you're in good company. And what I want to do is I want to just have everyone bow their heads, close their eyes. We could maybe dim some lighting. It's the only way I know how to do this. I'm a youth pastor, sorry. But if you're here, you came